Good morning, students. Hope you're well. I am going to attempt to record for you a video of the book, How Dare the Sunrise, chapters 5 and 6. I'm also going to play it on a CD player that I have that I told you I got a long time ago to listen to books on tape. So I'm going to start now. Please bear with me. It's really hard to get this perfect, but I'm going to do the best I can. And we're going to start with, it's going to be just like class. I'm going to start with chapter 5, and we'll listen to 5 and 6 today, and then we'll move on to 7 and 8 tomorrow. So hopefully you can see the book and hear well. Here we go.
Chapter 5. There is one day from my early childhood that I will never forget. The day my mother locked herself in her bedroom and would not come out. I had never seen her disappear like that, and I didn't understand what was wrong. Then my sister Princess took me aside and explained. My favorite uncle, Rumenge, the officer who always brought me treats and new clothes, had been killed in one of the conflicts in the region. Mom's heart is broken, Princess said. When my mother finally emerged from her room the next day, it was as if all the joy had been drained from her body. She loved Rumenge deeply. There is an old photograph of Rumenge with Deborah and me, the only picture I have of him, or of Deborah. It's also the only photo of my face from before the massacre. I don't know my face from back then. All of our family albums burned in the fiery attack. A friend of the family found this single remaining photo and sent it to us years after the tragedy. A little postcard from another world. My mother was so sad when she lost Rumenge. She had no appetite. She became thin and looked like a different person. She woke up every day worrying about frightening things that could happen to her other relatives. She spent her nights and days crying. She couldn't focus. She seemed so far away from the rest of us, in her own world. My uncle had left some clothes at the house, and she took them out and sat with them for days. Princess took over for her and ran the family, which was one of the many reasons I looked up to her. Before my uncle died, he gave my mom $100, which was a great deal of money at the time. But Mom didn't want to buy anything with it because it was the last thing he had given her. She wanted to save it forever. A friend suggested that she use the money to start a small business, which would help the family and also keep her busy, so she could try to get past her grief. Mom gave it some thought and eventually decided to indeed use the money to help her family, which Rumenge would have liked. And so, one day, she bought a refrigerator and started a little cafe in our home. She kept things like soft drinks and milk in the fridge and sold them along with snacks. People started coming by regularly, sipping a drink, chatting. Our house got even busier. Later, she started trading cows. My mom was the original feminist. Selling cows and running businesses were considered jobs for men, but she did her own thing. She was a true trailblazer. She once told me that around this time, a song came to her in a dream. She loved writing and singing songs, but she had been so filled with sadness that she had lost the heart to sing. Then the lyrics came to her in bed one night. You are not to spend your days worrying about tomorrow. The song helped give her strength. She no longer woke up worrying about her relatives and what might happen to them. She focused instead on her new business, on inventory and profits, to help us all move ahead in life. On the balmy evenings in our little cafe, we would play popular music on the radio, and Alex and I would dance for the customers. We loved dancing. It was one of our favorite forms of entertainment. We didn't have laptops or cell phones like kids in America have today. We didn't have birthday parties with gobs of goodie bags. We didn't get stacks of presents to unwrap at Christmas, but we didn't need a lot of material things to amuse ourselves. We had something better: dancing. We would dance and vigorously shake our butts and hips, twerking basically. Where I come from, twerking is not sexualized the way it is in America. The boys sometimes do it better than the girls. Everyone does it. It's wild and fun and freeing, not about sex. As my mom found her footing, my dad seemed to struggle. He was often stressed and distracted, as my missing brother Heritage was always on his mind. Dad was frequently away from home, either trying to find Heritage or working. Sometimes he missed events in my life, like Proclamation Day. But our house was always so crowded with friends and relatives, I didn't really notice. My father tried everything to locate Heritage and bring him home. He offered to buy his son back from the military with cows. He offered to take his son's place, to no avail. Dad was very protective of all his kids. He knew my brothers Chris and Alex could be kidnapped by the military, just like Heritage. And girls could be grabbed and raped. Rape is a serious weapon of war in Congo. Tens of thousands of women have been raped in civil war over the years. There were United Nations peacekeepers in our region, but they did not really make me feel safe. They flirted inappropriately with my older sister's friends. One of the peacekeepers became romantically involved with one of Adele's friends. He would take the girl out drinking, then take her back to the UN compound. He was a grown man, taking advantage of a teen girl. Growing up, the only white men I ever saw worked for either the UN or UNICEF. They wore uniforms and drove around in trucks and looked important. You wouldn't approach them or try to talk to them. I equated white men with power and authority and thought America must be full of white men. In 2002, when I was around 8 years old, my father heard some heart-stopping news from a friend. Heritage had been spotted in the Congolese city of Bukavu, beaten up and brutalized. My dad went to find him and bring him home. Turned out, Heritage was in such bad shape that he was no longer of any use to the army, and the soldiers released him from their grip. He could have easily disappeared and died there. The army didn't want to pay for a child soldier's medical care. When Heritage came home, he was in his teens, and he knew nothing but violence. When I saw him for the first time, he looked like a monster with a bloody face, a swollen eye. That is my first memory of my brother. I could barely bring myself to look at him and his scary eye. My mom and dad took him to get medical treatment, and he emerged all wrapped up in bandages like a mummy. Then my parents tucked him away in a bedroom in our home. They kept it very dark in there because the light hurt his eye. Sometimes I would peer into his room out of curiosity, but I was afraid of him. Over time, as he began to recuperate physically, I grew to know him a little better. I learned that the soldiers who kidnapped him gave the kids guns and made them shoot people to prove they were good fighters. The military got kids hooked on weed and alcohol to make them more compliant. Heritage had temper issues from his traumatic ordeal. After a few months at home, he went to live with a friend of the family in Burundi. My parents wanted to hide him away there. They didn't want to take a chance that the army would come and snatch him again.
I'm going to listen to how that sounded to make sure that you can hear clearly enough. And if not, I'm going to try something else for chapter 6. Maybe I'll read it aloud to you. So just want to stay connected and tell you that I miss seeing everyone and that I hope everyone's getting to their work and also enjoying their time at home with family. And I'll see you again soon. Bye.